Good evening and welcome to this channel about past lives and reincarnation. So today I'll tell you something that happened when I was 18. And then I'll tell you how I meditate, which I don't. I don't meditate, but I'll tell you what I do. Right. So I was 18 years old. I was with a friend at the sports arena. We were playing football, soccer. It was beautiful. It was summer. And we finished and we started to leave the place, and there was a competition going on. Girls were running around the track. They were doing the hurdles. It was a real competition with judges and everything. And they were like 16 years, maybe 17 years old. They were beautiful. And of course we stopped to watch them. So we were standing there and they did half a lap and they passed us, and my attention went to one of the girls, and then I saw this image of her falling on the last hurdle, and I felt so sure about it. I didn't want it to fall, of course. I just saw this thing, see? So I told my friend. I said, "See that girl?" He said, "Yeah." There were like 6 of them running. And I said, "She's going to fall on the last hurdle." He didn't believe me, of course. So we were watching them, of course, and they came to the last hurdle and she fell. And my friend got scared, and I got scared too. But I quickly relaxed because I knew I had nothing to do with it. I didn't cause this. I felt certain about this. I just saw something. But I was thinking about it. Now maybe this is one of the reasons, or maybe the reason, why we don't use our abilities as much as we could. It's like we are a bit scared of them. These paranormal abilities that I think everybody's got them. Maybe, I don't know. But it feels a bit uncomfortable. What if you could do things like this? If you can see the future? It's a bit scary, isn't it? All right. So now I'll tell you about how I do it. The meditation. I have friends who are meditating, and I'm not doing what they are doing at all. So I'll tell you what I do, right? So I sit down and I relax, and then I look at my space. This is like 90% of the times. This is what I do. I look at my space. Now the space is, of course, you, not the body. It's just you. How big are you? That's basically the question. And some people would think, oh, I'm this big. I'm right here, inside the head, looking out through the eyes. That's how big I am. And some would say, no, I'm this big. I'm like this room. Or I'm like this country. You see, this is how you consider your space. That's your space, right? So this is what I do. I look at my space and just at the outside of the space. And I look for things that are disturbing, or something. And then when I find these things, I ask questions about it. And when I find the true answer, there will be relief. Something positive will happen. So I'll tell you an example of this. This may sound very strange. It's really not. I'm very used to this stuff. So to me, it's not strange at all. So I was doing this and I saw stairs, see? And they were leading down, and I went down the stairs. And it wasn't far. I came to place, it was sand. The floor, the ground was sand. And there were rocks. The walls, they were rocks. So I looked around in this space and I saw a cage. And I went up to the cage. It was maybe like this room, the cage, maybe a bit smaller. And there were bars, metal bars, steel bars. And I know from experience that I could do something with this stuff. So I started to touch the bars and I realized that I could open the cage, which I did. I opened the cage and went inside. And there was a guy there, a man. He was sitting down on the sand. And I recognized him. I felt that I knew the guy. I knew he wasn't me from a past life. Somebody else, was somebody that I knew. And he looked miserable, like he was starving. He had been starving for weeks. You know? He looked sick. And he was sitting down like this. He didn't want to look up. So I started talking to him. And he raised his head and we started to talk. And we recognized each other. And he started to tell me what happened to him. And then after a while he felt better and he got up and then he left. And he was fine. And the cage sort of crumbled. It just went poof, gone. The cage was gone. But I felt that I wasn't done with this thing, and my attention went to the ground, which was sand, right? And I felt there's something under the surface. There's something in the sand. So I started digging, and I found a box, a wooden box. I thought it was a box, but after a while I realized it was a coffin. So I pulled out the coffin and opened the lid. There was another guy there. And this guy looked better. For some reason, I don't know why. He looked pretty okay. But he was lying there with his eyes closed. And he was supposed to be dead, but I felt he wasn't. And I recognized him too. And I knew it wasn't me, somebody else, but I knew the guy. So I woke him up, sort of, you know. And we started to talk and we recognized each other. And we talked and then he got up and then he left. So this is how I explain this thing. Now we go through our lives. And we meet people, of course, and some of them become our friends, and some of them you lose over time. Something happens to them. And you don't know what happened to them, right? Maybe. But you still have attention on it. You're still wondering, what happened to that guy that I met over there, that was my friend? What happened to him? See, you still have some attention on it. And this attention, this question, goes with you all through the lifetimes. This is my explanation. So this is what I think about these two guys. I used to know them. And maybe something happened to them. Maybe they went to jail sometime in the past. And I was still wondering what happened to them. And now I found them. And they could tell the story. You see? This is how I explain this thing. Now after I do these things, I feel better. Always I feel better. Every time I feel good. You see? Sometimes I deal with something that is very, very strong. These were not very strong, but sometimes they are very strong, very emotional stuff. and when I'm done with it I feel a lot better every time. So this is what I do. Alright, be good.